Hi everyone, Dennis Foley from Acoustic Fields. Today we're going to talk about how to integrate subs into your presentation, into your room, whether it's home theater, control, mixing, two-channel playback, it really doesn't matter. Let's look at what a low-frequency producing device called a subwoofer is, and that's exactly what it is. Forget that it's a speaker, forget about attack and decay and definition, all that. Realize that this is a huge low-frequency producing device that your room will not like, at least most small rooms that we work with. So you're already going uphill, so to speak, in the integration side of things with subwoofers. People don't take this serious enough, and their rooms are just overwhelmed with low-frequency energy to the point you can't hear where the lows start, the mids begin, the highs. It's all just a jumbled mess. So start thinking about your subwoofer as a low-frequency producing device that the room does not want. It's going to do everything in its power, so to speak, to get rid of it. It's going to make noise. It's going to exhibit room modes. It's going to smear and blur everything if you don't integrate it correctly. So you have to be very, very careful here. So let's step back a little bit. Don't think of it as a speaker because, speakers by definition, most of us have used our whole lives, and they work well in rooms. They were designed to do that, but subwoofers not so much. So we have to define what they really are, which is a low-frequency energy-producing device that the room won't like. Okay, so knowing those parameters, how are we going to locate this thing? Where are we going to locate it? Well, in today's rooms with our 8-foot ceiling heights, we're going to put a subwoofer that produces energy that's 50 to 55 foot long at its lowest points, in an 8-foot dimension. Does that sound right to you? Well, it shouldn't. So you're going to have all kinds of problems. Here's a good rule of thumb. You got an 8-foot dimension and a 50-foot long wave. Okay, so you're going to have 6 times the problems. That's a good way to kind of think about it. So what is our goal with subs? Seamless integration. We don't want to know where they are in the room. We want to just experience and feel the low end that's defined and separated and has good attack and decay. We don't want to know where it's coming from. We don't want to know that the subwoofer's over here, the subwoofer's over there, because it's not a speaker. It's a low frequency generating device. So we want to make sure our low frequency energy is distributed evenly throughout the room. We don't know where it's coming from, and it integrates well and plays well with our other frequencies. So we got to do that. Here's what we've been finding over the last couple of years in dealing in small rooms and doing all kinds of design work in small rooms, that you really need a 2-sub minimum. 2 subs produce enough energy that you can get non-localization and a seamless integration. We find with one that localization is a lot easier. So we like to use 2 low-frequency producing devices in most of our rooms. That said, you have to have the right size and you have to have the right volume. So we work a lot in rectangular rooms because they're predictable and consistent. So we like to use a 2-sub minimum. What kind of sub, what manufacturer you choose, we could care less. Neither can your room. It doesn't care who made it. It only cares that it's a low-frequency energy-producing device that obviously won't fit very well. So a must-have is an electronic crossover, because with today's recordings, some have a lot of low end, some don't have any because of the room in which they were mixed and mastered in. So there's no consistency in our recorded material. So with electronic crossover, you can take a recording that doesn't have a lot of low frequency energy and you can add some, okay? You can add some through the crossover. You can cross over what frequencies you send to the subwoofer, so that's more compatible with your room size and volume, and get a lot better blending, non-localization, and an integration with an electronic crossover. So we use electronic crossovers on all our subs. We use a 2-sub minimum in most rooms. So the diameter of the driver that you use in the sub is also important, because you're going to have a room. It's going to have a certain size, okay? It's going to have a certain height. It's going to have a certain length, and it's going to have a certain width, okay? So you're going to have all kinds of problems with a small room. So you're going to have Low frequency issues, you're going to have things like that. You're going to have bumps in the low end. You have to realize that a 10-inch driver versus a 12-inch driver, there's a plus 2 dB gain differential. So whatever problems we're exhibiting that are untreated in our room, we have to be careful about adding another 2 dB of energy by picking a driver size that's too big for the room volume. So we don't want to exaggerate. Remember, the first rule in acoustics is do no harm. So we don't want to do any harm here. So you have to be very careful with our driver diameter selection. Everything has to integrate. Everything has to fit. And just remember that you're putting a device in the room that the room doesn't want to be there. So you have to spend a lot of time and care evaluating the proper place to put it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed our videos today, and if you did, we really would appreciate a thumbs up from you. If you have any questions or comments, you can go to the comment section, or you can go to our website, acousticfields.com, and fill out the contact form. Subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel. We're now doing 2 videos a week. If you have some ideas for topics, you can submit those to us also. If you're having room issues, we have that free room analysis. You can click on the button below, and we'll compare your room to our database of 120 built rooms that we built and actually measured, and I guarantee you your room is in that database. So just click on the button below for the free room analysis. Thank you.